What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ring the Bell Show. Christy, Francesco, Jenny Mack are in the building here tonight. And man, it feels good to be back. I was gone for just a couple weeks. I mean, we took off last week. We figured, look, with spring training kicking off here today on Valentine's Day, literally nothing was happening with the Phillies. Would you stop? So here we are, John. Man, this is I know it's Valentine's Day, but this is the best day of the year, man. This is it. Baseball officially starts today. Pitchers and catchers reported to Clearwater for the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, as far as I know, Nola, Wheeler, and a couple of them have already been down there for about a week or two. But how you feeling, man, with baseball? So it's February today. It was 35 degrees outside, but hey, baseball's here.
I'm excited for the season to get going. I'm excited to see what get a full Harper back this year. Hopefully Trey Turner he is a guy he was before he was a Philly, and then Stott and Bohm. I'm excited to see how much they improved this offseason.
Yeah, there's so many topics to talk about throughout this season. There's so many things that have to happen that are going to go right. Because look, the off season's not completely over. I'm assuming based on who's still out there available. It could fall into the Phillies' lap. What happens, and that's something we're going to talk about. It's one of the topics here today. Is Dave Dombrowski done making moves? As time keeps passing, I'm at the end of the show. I'll make a statement that I might be wrong, might be right. Whatever it happens, I just think certain things are just shockingly working out in the favor of the Phillies right now, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. But look, like I said, this is a baseball team that stayed 97% of the offseason really quiet, and President of Ops Dave Dombrowski has said multiple times, John, that he thinks they have a roster that can win the World Series. It's obviously true. They went to the World Series with this roster. They were one win away last year. I don't want to talk about that, but they were one win away last year from going to their second consecutive World Series. This is a roster that he still believes can get to a championship and win one. I believe the same thing. John, I don't think you're quite as much on the board with that. I know Jason is thinking the same thing as I am. But look, it's okay to be pessimistic about this roster and the decisions that were made in the offseason, John. You've brought it up many times. We've had an incredible amount of debates in our group chat here about this offseason. Sometimes I agree, and other times I just feel like, look, sometimes the best move to make is no move at all, especially if this team is really digging deep in the belief of Johan Rojas in center field. Again, that's another storyline that we're going to have to pay attention to big time in spring training. But so let's kind of dig in here and kind of discuss the three big things that we should be paying attention to here in spring training. By the way, Ring the Bell is presented by SeatGeek. Head over to SeatGeek.com right now. Use our code ONTHEBUMP for $20 off your very first ticket purchase. So the first
one thing before you get started, I want to mention this. I am pessimistic, but it's because I look at the Phillies right now because they didn't make any moves, and it's pretty much the same roster as last year. It's because I look at the thing, it's a bunch of ifs. If this happens, if that happens, it's all these ifs with the team because they didn't make any improvements from last year. They have the same roster pretty much the same roster, besides they have two less bullpen arms that we don't know who's going to fill those roles than they did when they lost Game 7. So it's a lot of ifs. You're hoping Trey Turner is back to normal. Yeah. You're hoping Schwarber did what he did last year because he had a historic season. You're hoping he can do the same exact thing. You're hoping Bryce Harper is an MVP level player. These guys are getting older. You're hoping Castellanos isn't a bum like he is at times, where he's just swinging at absolutely everything. And you're hoping Bowman stop make those improvements. You're hoping Nola's not that 4 ERA guy. And it's a lot of. So you're hoping Sanchez is that. It's all these things you're hoping, and it's these ifs. If these happen, then yes, they are a World Series contender. It's just I don't see it right now because they didn't get better when other teams in the league got better. That weren't there.
Right. And, a big deal, man. And you're right. And thank you to Walt. The young guys will improve. And look, Walt, I'm going to be honest with you, man. That's one of the big things that we got to pay attention to is does Alec Boehm and Bryson Stott take their game to that next level? Bryson Stott from 2 years ago, he really changed a lot of things from an offensive standpoint to be incredible, like one of the best two-strike hitters in baseball in 2023. So, what does he do in 2024? He's an all-world defensive second baseman, so I'm not worried about that. But do we get an extra 5 home runs and an extra 15 RBIs? Do we get a 285, 290 batting average? And the same
I think he
thing,
ended 290 last year, didn't he? Somewhere in the
stay there or elevate that. And I'll be completely cool with that with Alec Boehm. Do we see more of a power stroke in 2024? He hit 20 this year. I would like for him to get to that 25, 27 mark. He just got to that almost that 100 RBI that marker. Does he get above that? So yes, and you're going to have to play Nick Castellanos for 150 games. What is he going to do? Is he going to go in one of those streaks where in May he's hitting 350, but then in June and July he's hitting 175? So that's another so many things to talk about with this baseball team. And I really want to kind of start things off with kind of a contract thing that was discussed today. It made its rounds throughout the media and the national media for baseball. It looks like Zach Wheeler is really pushing for that contract extension with this baseball team. He said, Wheeler did say today that he and the Phillies are talking about a contract extension. He said he wants to be here long term. So to him, sure, 5-6 years, he would love to sign a 5 or 6 year deal. We've talked about this before, John and Jay, before. When you're talking about an extension here for literally one of the best pitchers in baseball, he's top 3 or 4 in projections in terms of Cy Youngs this
I
year,
think he was second.
which is
Last time I
incredible.
looked.
Yeah, and I'll have to check that out as well. When you're looking at extending Zach Wheeler, John, do you think this gets done before opening day? And if so, how long do you think this is going to be?
I don't know because he wants to be here long term, which that means that's 6+ years. That's 6+ years. I'm assuming. If
You can't
then
do
he's
it.
34, I believe.
33,
33, turning 34. So that's
yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
pitchers are pitching a lot longer, so I can see it. But it's just, I think it's going to be settled on the years is what's going to be the issue. I don't think it's the money, and I think that was the thing with Nola. I think Nola wanted 7 years, 6+ years. That's why he
He'll be
didn't sign it.
31 at the 34 at the end of May.
Yeah, so it's going to be. I hate long-term deals for any type of player. Like I hate that Bryce Harper's here for I hope it's 13 years because when he's 41 years old, you tell him he's going to be hitting 300 and hitting 40 home runs, 35 home runs a year. Like I hate these long-term deals, but I mean that's what the game is. I don't know if it gets done per se. I think it's going to come into like a Nola situation where he's going to resign. He will be a Philly next year. It's going to be where he's going to pitch all year long, and then as soon as the free agency hits, they're going to re-sign him once again.
Yeah, for sure. And when you look at that Wheeler, he's clearly the number one priority for Philly this spring. They want to get that contract extension done. It won't be easy, and obviously, we all know it ain't going to be cheap either. It's not impossible to imagine Wheeler getting that AAV that rivaled Scherzer and Verlander. Wheeler's B WAR, which is 19.6 and 19.3 F WAR, the past 4 seasons is the best in Major League Baseball. He has a 2.42 ERA in the postseason, which is 6th best in Major League Baseball history. So, you look back, and one of our people watching, Walt brought up Justin Verlander. Verlander signed a massive deal at 40 years old. He signed a 2-year deal at $86.7 million. That's
I'm fine with that. If you want to
43.
give him 2 years, $86 million like that, I'm fine with the short term, high AAVs. Like I love that. I don't love
Yeah.
the long term thing where when guys get into their late 30s, 40s years old, because we see it with Cabrera, Pujols, A-Rod, all these guys around. Like it just it depletes the team where it's like,
Yeah.
are you have to play these guys at times where like, or you have to cut them at this point, and like then it comes to the situation, why are you? And then you know how Philly fans are, where it's gonna be like, why are you getting rid of Bryce Harper, man? He loves this city. Well, he's 39 years old and he's hitting 200. That's why we're
Yeah.
getting rid of him. It's those situations.
So if you're not looking at a Verlander deal, what about what Scherzer signed at age 39, 3 years,
Yeah.
130?
Yep. It's fine with me.
I mean, I'm
I mean,
okay with that as well.
and I think they both got opt outs, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So give him the opt
Yep.
outs, and if he wants can opt out again at year 2, and he can sign another 3. If he's pitching the same level, you can give him another 3 years for that amount of money.
Yeah. So and I'll again, let's just say if Wheeler, who we already talked about, he turns 34 May 30th, if he doesn't get to that $40 million, limit level, his floor will figures to be probably what Jacob DeGrom, 37 million, Garrett Cole, 36. I think he'll top Strasburg's 35. The point is here is to make sure Wheeler does not hit free agency following this season, because there will be a bunch of teams, John, lining up to pay him $40 million
And
a
I think
year.
that's where it's gonna that they
Yeah,
might sign him, and they might just say, "Screw it, give you the 6 years," because I don't think they're gonna want him to hit the free agent market. They might just have to, suck it up and pay him that 6 years. That's what it is. That's what's gonna hold up the deal, like all spring training. It's gonna be the years. I don't think it's gonna be the money. I think they're gonna be willing to pay him whatever amount he wants. It's gonna be how long the deal is.
I agree with you, and I feel like it's
I
I
mean,
feel like
that's
it's
Snell. That's
always
Snell
the
and Montgomery
years.
right
It's
now.
always the years.
That's them. Like people are willing to pay these guys, Snell
Yeah.
but they don't want to do. They want 6, 7 years. They want the
Mhm.
security that they're going to get paid for 6 to 7 years.
If you're the Phillies, and I'm going off topic because I just want to ask you, not off topic, but off the beaten path here. It's February 14th. I'm assuming Blake Snell isn't going to be signing with anybody tonight. If you're the Snell camp and the Phillies come at you and offer you a 2-year deal worth $85 million, are you taking it?
I mean, are they giving an opt out after year 1?
Whew. I mean, you're making 40 million the first year, so sure, we'll give you an opt out after year one.
Okay, so they give you the opt out. He goes. See, I look at it this way: you got take that deal. They give you opt out of year
Mhm.
1. You go win back to back Cy Youngs. You're getting
Yeah,
that 6 years. You know what I mean? You're guaranteed
you're
getting.
getting that you're getting that mega deal. Yeah,
Yeah, which that's what this question is. Like he has 2 great Cy Young seasons, and then he's
hmm,
Aaron Nola.
you're right. I would love for Noah to have one Cy Young before hitting a 4.3 ERA. So, so if to me, my deal is 3 years, $125 million. Like I'm going that route of Max Scherzer. I don't want to go any more than 3 years. I just don't want to do that right now. It's nothing
Yeah.
against. It has nothing. It's nothing against Zach Wheeler.
Especially when you have Painter and Abel coming up too, and if those are the
Exactly.
guys
You
too.
have pitchers in your system who's going to be coming up. And you don't want a log jam up there with mid 30-year-olds that are making a lot of money.
And then if you want to trade them
And they're
and get
there.
more prospects in return later on, when if those guys are pitching well, you know, teams are going to be more willing to take that contract, even though he has a couple years left. You know,
Right, right. My the question that I asked in the beginning here, do you think it gets done before the beginning of the season at the end of March? I personally think so. If Zach Wheeler's already public about it, effective immediately today, that he doesn't want to go anywhere else. He loves in Philadelphia. He doesn't want to play anywhere else. He wants to be here. To me, I feel like things are moving in the right direction for a
yeah.
deal to get done. But I'll tell you what worries me in the back of my mind is, with all this attention on Zach Wheeler, maybe Zach Wheeler's camp is saying, have another good season, man, and you're gonna make $40 million a year for 5 years at the end of the year if you test free agency. Um, that's a worry.
Yeah, I hate when players say that stuff. It's great as a fan to hear like Zach Wheeler wants to stay here. He loves being
Yeah.
here, but like as a player, you shouldn't say that stuff because that's when a team's going to give you a little bit less money. Maybe not. They're going to try to get you team friendly because you want to be here. Where maybe
Hmm.
you should keep that to yourself. You know,
Yeah. Um,
I do think I think it will get done, and I think it's going to be like 6. I think he's going to get the 6 years. I think they're going
I
to want to keep him.
I don't think it goes more than 4, and I think there's a very, very high AAV, like we discussed. Thank you very much, Walt, for hanging around, brother. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, we'll be here all season long. Which, before we get into our next topic, I kind of want to kind of update everybody about what's coming for the entire season. Until the regular season starts, we'll still be once a week, either midweek or every Sunday. I'm pretty sure that once the spring training games start, we'll probably move the show to Sunday night so we can try to recap the week of games as much as possible. Not that spring training games are necessarily massively important, but it is, I think a good idea for us to kind of look back, like who's having a good spring, who's not, certain things to look out for as we inch closer and closer to March 28th for opening day. Starting in March 28th, that very first week, we will be twice a week. We're going to be midweek as always after the very first series of the week, which is usually a Wednesday or a Thursday. And then we're going to come back Sunday night following the Sunday game to recap the entire week and preview the week ahead. I had tossed around the idea of doing post-game shows. Here's what I'm going to tell all of you. I'm not going to promise a post-game show after every single game, but I will tell you that it might be a couple a week. I'm going to try to do maybe two or three post games a week. I'm just going to come on here after a game for about 15 minutes and just break down that game for that night. If it's, especially if it's like a really good game, if a lot of really good things happened, I'll pop on here with either John or Jason, and we'll do a show.
And if it's a really bad game,
if it's something, hitters want what happened in game 6 and 7 of the NLCS.
yeah.
If it's a game like that, then yeah, I'll probably hop on here and yell at someone. But that's how it's going to be. Also, another, I guess you could say, member note: Dean is no longer part of Ring the Bell. We have mutually agreed to part ways, and I, thank Dean for all of his contributions to this show. I mean, he was with us since the beginning. So I'm very appreciative, and I 100% wish him the best in all of his future endeavors and what he wants to do and whatever makes him happy. But look, he's a Phillies fan, and that's great. And hopefully he pays attention to Ring the Bell throughout the season. But moving forward, you're going to see a lot of, unfortunately, the guy that's with me here tonight, Jason Kent, is on the mend. He's still trying to. Happy Valentine's Day there, John. Jason has like a 7-inch scar in the back of his neck that's healing up. So he should be back with us very, very soon. Also in the beginning of March, I will not be here, and it's really starting to piss me off because I believe the week that I am gone, I'll be on vacation with my family. I believe that's going to be the 100th episode of the show. So maybe if I can pop in and do something real quick, because it's the 100th episode. It's a big deal, right? So we'll see what happens there. But just want to update everybody that when the regular season starts, we'll be twice a week, mostly more than that, because I'm going to be doing a couple post games, depending on how things go, like John said. I just want to bring you guys as much Phillies content as possible. I want to be the show that brings you guys the most Phillies content daily that I can. So we're excited for that. But let's move into our second topic. And that is something we've talked about a couple times up until now, but I think it's important to really get into it right now. And is Johan Rojas the man? Is he the guy that's going to be the full-time starter? And John, I'll tell you what, based on the offseason and lack of moves, it has to be, he's the answer.
And he was one of the reasons why I think they lost these last two games too. I mean, but he is young. He's super talented. He's super fast. I mean, he's a Gold Glove level center fielder if he's playing a full season. It's the bat that we need to see get going. He's improved tremendously throughout the minor leagues. I would love him to get a little more time in the minor league to start the season and have somebody else play out there. But Jay Cave is not an option out there, so he's gonna be on the opening day roster. I hope he is the guy because he is unbelievable. He's not gonna hit you a ton of home runs. He's gonna hopefully he can be a guy who can hit 250, steal you 30 bags,
Yeah.
and play Gold Glove center field, and that's fine. That's all I can ask for out of a center fielder, which we've been wanting for the longest time because he is a pure Gold Glove center fielder. Like when you're playing out there, you're the right and left fielder, you only have to where things to the other side. In the middle, he's getting it. He's a windshield wiper out there. So I'm not.
That's a t-shirt. So you I guess I can say, man, we haven't had anybody that trustworthy off the top of my head since Victorino out
Yes,
there in center field,
I
right?
think
He's better than Victorino.
he's back better. He is better, but really,
I think he's
Victorino
better
straight to
defensively than
yeah, was
Victorino.
it Victorino straight to a double pretty much? I think that's what it
Yeah.
was, and then we've just the
Yeah.
struggles pretty much we've had there. It's
Hmm.
he is very very good defensively. It's the bat that needs to work on. He needs to work on. But we've seen Kevin Long with these players how much these guys have improved. So hopefully
Hmm.
he can listen to what he has to say, and it seems like he's put on a little bit of muscle, which is
Yeah.
good. So I mean, I'm not really worried about his power numbers because you have a ton of power hitters in that lineup. So I'm fine with him
Right.
hitting a couple of home runs a year, and I think his only home run is off a position player. Um, but I would love to see him take that next step, and I'm not asking him to do much. But the one thing I actually will ask is learn how to bunt, dude. Like you are horrendous at
Please.
bunting. Like
Please,
that,
for the love of God,
ho-
bunt.
hopefully before you took your swing, you bunted at least 25 times every single day. Like something when you
Yeah.
were working. Because if he can lay down bunts, I mean that's huge to get a quick base
Yeah.
runner and stuff like that.
Turn that
Um,
lineup around for a
and I'm
Schwarber to
maybe
strike out.
and him walking. I mean, he's very pitch selective too. Is something I like to see him be as well. Like that,
Very
you should
much so.
like be good at walking. Be selective, get your pitches and stuff like that. Would be great to see.
Hello, Mom. I think, listen, everybody, I just want to be like, this is like a record here, a big thing. I've been podcasting, doing shows since 2005, like before all this was cool. This is the first time in 18, 19 years that my mom has ever associated herself with anything that I've been doing like this. So the fact that she's saying hello or even watching is really stunning to me. so
There must be
so thanks.
nothing on TV. I guess Raymond's not on right now.
Yeah, or Twister's not playing on the AMC channel. So she's like, you know what? Let me support my son for the first time in his entire life while he's doing this stuff. So look, we know for a fact that the Phillies talked to free agent outfielders in the offseason. Dombrowski made that very clear as well. But they said that none of them were interested because Dombrowski couldn't guarantee them playing time. Right off the bat, that tells you why they want Rojas to be the everyday center fielder, which is going to put, the recovering Brandon Marsh, who should be ready by opening day, in left field. I think it was very clear why the Phillies did not bring in a really good
I mean, even Thompson said in
defensive.
the playoffs, you called him the captain
Exactly.
of the
Yeah.
outfield.
Yeah. Yeah. Rojas might be Philadelphia's best, center fielder. People have compared him to Gary Maddox, who won,
Yeah, that's the first guy I
8
thought of. But
Gold
I think
Gloves with the Phillies. Yeah, I've watched highlights lately of I've watched highlights
that's where I got the
of Gary
windshield wiper
Maddox,
reference because that's
right?
what my dad called him. Like he says, like when he was out there, he's like a windshield wiper.
Perfect. That is phenomenal. Rojas is a stud, man. He played so well in those, 60 games as a rookie that he tied Taijuan Walker for 7th on the team with a 2.5 WAR. So, not bad.
Yeah, and he had like 9 defensive run saves. He had something ridiculous in like a short amount of time that he was playing. Like it was a
Yeah,
ridiculous number.
it was amazing.
He was leading baseball like when he got called up in defensive run saves, I believe.
Yep. And then the playoffs. Rojas went 4 for 43 with 1 walk and 15 strikeouts in the postseason. And that's when everybody, of course, when you're in the postseason, the attention heightens, pessimism. Yeah, pitching's better.
Crowds are louder. It's a different atmosphere. It's
It
different for a
is.
young guy at 22.
Yeah.
It's real for who doesn't have a ton of major league at bats. That's a tough situation to put him in, and he's not. He wasn't like a guy who was like who has that ability. Like who was like, oh, you're a top 5 prospect. You already have that ability. You've been great for He didn't have that,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not like Evan Carter when he got there batting 3 in the playoff in the World Series.
No, for sure. And the Phillies have said multiple times publicly that Rojas has to earn the job. But you can tell, John, we all can tell that they really, really want him to take that job in center field. He doesn't need to hit like he hit in the regular season. He hit 302 with a 342 OBP in the regular
Yeah,
season. Let's
but
not
how many of
forget that.
those were such lucky
I,
hits?
I
Come on.
agree. I
But
agree.
I mean, he was putting the ball in play. That's almost like you can't get hits unless you don't put it in play. He was putting it in play a ton.
Oh, for sure. I actually think it's very unrealistic to expect those numbers. I really do. But again, John, you said the same thing
And
like
he was
2 minutes
driving in a
ago.
ton of runs. He
Yeah,
was on pace. Like if he played a full season, he was gonna drive like 80 runs or something like that. It was
which is
ridiculous.
very unrealistic to expect. Like you said, though, it doesn't need to be that way. The firepower in that lineup, the Phillies don't need him to be that player.
No,
They just
250
need
is
him.
fine.
Exactly. They just need him to produce enough offensively to keep his glove in center field. That's really it. If Rojas
I mean, I'd be
struggles,
fine with 225 honestly, because his glove's so good.
I don't think he's going to go from 302 to 250, but if you give me
It's the strikeout rate
265,
can't be high. That's the
that
issue. It's
that's the issue. Yeah, yeah, yep. So if he does struggle like he did in the postseason, he could open in AAA, but then again, there's that urgency to find another outfielder, and you're going to bring in another outfielder who's clearly not as good as Rojas, because the defense, in my opinion, is such a big deal to me. Especially out in center
they're
field.
not very good defensively, really anywhere.
Yeah.
Besides second base, really. I mean, Harper. I mean, he did play pretty well at first base, but is
I
he
mean,
really?
catcher.
Yeah, you're right. But there's still a lot to see. Like knows like how like he's an
No, you're right.
athlete, but you don't really know. There's still a lot of questions there.
Yeah. It's not
Catcher
good that your
JT
left side of
JT's
your infield is a question mark all the time.
yeah, and it's Marsh is a great left fielder. He can be a Gold Glove left fielder. I thought he was going to be a
Good.
center fielder, but I don't know what happened out there. And then
I couldn't even tell you.
I guess Castellanos is good out there. I mean, he doesn't make any errors.
He had no errors. So, put some respect on his name.
Wasn't even a nomination for Golden Glove. It had
He
0
wasn't.
errors.
He was.
And I think he had a bunch of defensive run saves and throwouts too, which
He
is
did,
crazy that
yeah.
he
And
wasn't
it's
even
like
considered.
Major League Baseball was like, nah, you're not hosing
Remember
me on
when
this one.
Juan Soto was a finalist last year in left field, I believe.
Bro, yeah, he's so terrible in the outfield, Juan Soto. That's like Bobby Abreu winning a Gold Glove. It's a joke. So our last thing to talk about in terms of what to look for and pay attention to in spring training is are the Phillies really finished making moves? So it doesn't matter to me how many times Dombrowski says the Phillies are good. They're set with their 40-man roster depth in the outfield, the rotation and bullpen. I think few people, and we're starting to feel this more and more now, few people believe that they're going to open the season with another addition or two. It could be a fourth or fifth outfielder. It could very well mean another starter. I think the Phillies would absolutely take Jordan Montgomery on a 1 to 2 year deal if he isn't,
He's a
but
really good playoff pitcher too.
yeah, I mean, reports again came out today that he's not looking to sign for a 1 or 2 year deal. I mean, it's February 14th. I'm assuming he's been pitching all off season, so I don't know what kind of ramp up time that's going to be wherever he signs. But you know, Phillies talking to Cleveland multiple times about closer Emmanuel Clase, which to me that's the focal point. Boy, what I would love to get that guy in here to have at the end of games. But Dombrowski did say late last week that we do not have any ongoing conversations for bullpen guys. That can change at any second. But one thing we know about Dombrowski is that he will strike if he finds a good opportunity in front of him. So it's something that we should stay tuned for. It's very well documented now that they made a mega offer to Yamamoto to come here.
Yeah, he said that
And
our jaws have been dropped. I'm assuming they offered more than the Dodgers, and he just didn't want to play here. From the way
that's
he spoke about it, like it
That's
looks
the
like they offered more.
reports. Yeah. There's been hints that the Phillies had the best offer, but nothing was going to drag him out of LA, which really pisses me off. But it makes me happy that Dombrowski is still that guy to
They
go
like
do
playing
it.
on the West Coast. I guess there's
Yeah.
something like it seems like a lot of it's either they play for the Yankees or Red Sox or they play somewhere on the West Coast.
I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing to play baseball out in the West Coast every single day, right? So I'm gonna ask you, man, like, you've been more critical than any of us this offseason and regarding
Because it's
moves. And
weird.
it
For
is
him.
very weird. It's very abnormal for the Phillies to not be attached to these names. You still have Blake Snell out there. You still have Jordan Montgomery.
And they
Cody
were the favorites
Bellinger
for
still
Blake
doesn't
Snell, I
have a
believe,
job.
too.
Who?
They were the favorites like going into the offseason for Blake Snell too. Like that's like the weird
Yeah.
like everybody like it's very weird that he's for a guy who loves to spend money, loves to make trades, did it everywhere he went, and he's doing nothing, especially the previous two off seasons where he was spending a ton of money and he was making the moves. I mean, he went from giving 100 million to Schwarber, 100 million to Castellanos, and you give 300 million to Turner, and then you give that huge deal to Walker, and then all of a sudden you just re-sign
Yeah.
Nola. You don't do anything, and I always think you need to get better every single year,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think they've gotten better. So it's really weird seeing him not do anything right now. So
So do
it's
you think part of their argument is, okay, look, you get better because you could have lost Nola, you get Nola back. Are you better, instead of 59 games at Johan Rojas in center field, we get a full 155 games at a Rojas
that's
in
one of
center
those if
field.
questions where is he
Exactly. It's a lot of ifs. It
that's
is.
the biggest one where it's huge. It's really, really big that
It
he's
is.
not.
Yeah.
That's and I still think the one thing I'm really critical on is they need a bat off the bench. They have
They
nothing
do.
on that bench. Like a guy who can play 75 to 125 games possibly, on this like who can platoon out there and play a lot and you can bring him in at any moment. They have nothing down, especially right-handed wise. They have too many lefties at times.
Yeah.
My Bellinger thing. Like if they bring Bellinger, what are they? They're just gonna all lefties and with
Yeah.
nothing on the bench
Bellinger
really.
just isn't a fit right now. I
No,
mean,
it's
that
not.
is you just throw
You
a
would have to.
lefty against the Phillies and you're in
Yes,
trouble.
I think
So
it's
I
like that's
mean,
the thing. Like if they're willing to, like if something comes along the table where somebody's like, I'd love like where maybe like the class A like give a Schwarber and one pitching prospect and you can have class A where you don't have to give up you don't have to give up too much for him
mhm.
and you look at and then you're like, all right, we can sign Bellinger. That's a quick, easy replacement there. But other than that, like you can't really like you can't put him in this lineup because you're sitting there. You're gonna have to, and he hates doing back to back lefties. You're gonna have at one point there's gonna be back to back lefties in that lineup. So
Right.
I don't think they're done. I think something's gonna happen for this. Like one thing he's done, he's made those huge trades. He had that JD trade in
Yeah.
Boston. He had the Prince Fielder trade in Detroit. Um, Miami's I was a little young for those ones those days, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But I mean that roster was just stacked in general. I mean, when you
So I'll throw the three remaining big names at you, and I want you to give me a percentage of the chances that Dombrowski lands them. Okay, Jordan Montgomery,
40,
Blake Snell.
10,
Whoa, 10. Okay, Cody Bellinger.
35.
I'm really surprised Snell is at 10. He's been linked to the Phillies so many times.
I just don't think he's the fit. I think he's going to end up getting his 6 years. I don't think Montgomery's going to get the long term deal. That's why I think it's more. I don't think he's going to get the long term deal. And I think a lot of teams are really they're holding their own. Like they're not willing to give these two guys long term deals because they're not proving that they're long term. They have long term success. They have a couple good seasons sprinkled in here and there. So that's like why I think a lot of teams are holding out on those two.
So I waited to the end of the show here just to say it's I'm not going to call it a hot take because I'm not a hot take guy at all. I actually hate hot take guys. Just based on how things in the calendar is shaping up right now, and how quiet the Phillies have been, I do believe they end up with one of those three guys. I really do. Um, I think as time keeps going, I know. Look, I've already heard from people that look. Um, Harper signed late, other Machado signed late. I know other guys have signed in the February.
These guys aren't
This
close to those players though. That's
these
the
guys,
thing.
yeah, these guys aren't any of those dudes. So there's something going on, and I feel like with each passing day, I think those massive, massive long term 4, 5, 6, 7 year deals are starting to diminish. And I feel like if the Phillies can come in at the right time with, like we talked about with Wheeler, A
And look,
short-term
if it
deal.
comes to the thing where it's like the middle of March and Montgomery still hasn't signed, the Phillies are going to call him and be like, "We'll give you 1 to 2 years." Like
Right.
they're going to call, and I think that's how they get him. It's going to be something like it's
Yeah.
I think they will get one of the 3 players, those 3 players, because nobody else is giving them the long-term deals, and it's mid-March. And teams will sign with them.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's what it'll be. It's they're
I
not
agree.
gonna cave for the long term. They're a team that's not gonna cave for a long term deal. They have
Yeah.
too many long term contracts under at this point, and these guys aren't, you know, perennial all stars and superstars to like MVP level players that they can give these
For
long term
sure.
contracts to.
I don't think the Phillies necessarily need any of these guys. Like we've already said, I think Bellinger is actually a poor fit. I hate saying that. I come off like a
I
baseball
would love him
snob
too. Like
when
I
I
really
say
would love
Cody
him, but
Bellinger is a bad
he's another
fit.
lefty.
You're right. That's the problem I have, is that he's another lefty. In a lefty
He
heavy.
was right-handed, could play center field. I would give him
Oh my God.
5 years.
What do
I
you
would give
want?
him
You want a 5
5 years.
or 6, 7 year deal, Cody? You got it. We'll see you. We'll see you at spring training if you're a right-handed bat. Out there in center field, that would be spectacular to see that. So
I think he
yeah,
stays in Chicago. I think that's what happens.
that's the best move for Chicago, is to keep him out there. I agree with you there, but
I
I
just
do
don't think
think
they want to give him the long-term deal because of he had the great year last year, but the previous 2 seasons were terrible.
yeah.
I think that's a lot of teams holding off him too. Like
Hmm.
he comes back again, that's like take the 1 to 2 year deal or the 2 year deal with an opt out with the high 80. Take it. Because if you
Yeah.
have another great year, you opt out, you're getting that long-term deal. And I don't know why teams just
Yep.
don't gamble on. Look at
I
Reese. Reese
know.
gambled on himself this offseason.
Hmm. Yeah. I
And he's a
mean,
Boris guy. And I think is Cody a Boris guy too? He seems like he's a Boris
I'll
guy.
check. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if Hoskins bet on himself. That dude, that's a pretty good paycheck he's getting. That
It's
was a pretty
13 this
sweet
year,
deal for
18
him.
next year, I believe.
Yeah.
13 this year, 18 next year.
His
Which
agent
I
is
would love that deal.
Cody Bellinger is a Boris client.
Well, it's a shocker why he's not signed yet. I mean, it makes a ton of sense.
That's all right.
Ton of sense.
All right, makes a little
That guy's
sense.
horrible for baseball. I can't stand him.
God, his players get paid, and he takes care of it. I like Scott Boras a lot because he does put Major League Baseball under fire when they need to be put under fire. I will say that. But yeah, sometimes how he handles negotiations,
You don't get
it's wild.
his players don't sign extensions. They always go into off seasons. Like it's like and
Well,
that's why Stott won't get an extension. Stott will go to free agency, which sucks. And I think Boehmer's a Boris guy too, and that's why they're arguing over $600,000.
600,000 they're arguing over, which I believe that goes to court tomorrow. So I believe we'll get an answer. I think about that on Thursday. So we're looking forward to seeing what that is. I'm assuming he's going to win that and get that.
It's
that
something so
$600K.
Seriously, like
It actually makes me laugh that they're arguing over $600,000.
it might be. It's something. So it's not even like $1 million. It's like something small.
I think they offered him 3.4 and he wants 4.
Yeah, something like
That's
that.
exactly what it is. It's wild to me. All right. So like I said, everybody, head over to SeatGeek.com right now. Use our code on the bump for $20 off your very first ticket purchase. Thank you guys so much for checking us out and coming in here. We had a lot of people tuning in here tonight, so I'm excited. We're going to have our special preview, our big 2024 season preview and prediction show. I believe like right around March. What did we say? 20th or 21st? Right before the season starts.
Something like that.
Yeah. So the 20th or 21st, we're going to have our big show where we're all going to come on here. It's going to be a packed house, and we're all going to predict. We're going to go down the lineup. We're going to predict numbers for the players. Do we get a Cy Young winner prediction? Do we get an MVP prediction? And playoffs, no playoffs, World Series, no World Series. So much to dive into in about a month from right now. And I can't wait for that show. That's always my favorite show of the year because we get to look back and yell at people who, who were horribly wrong. But I'm really excited for that. Yeah, Jason had them losing in the NLCS to the Dodgers last year. So it wasn't the Dodgers, but it was.
He also had Nola winning the Cy Young.
He did have Nola winning the Cy Young, which was my favorite thing to talk about all season long with him. So yeah, excited for that. At Ring the Bell 856 and all the socials. I'm Christy Francesco. That's Johnny Mac. And we'll catch you guys down the road. Have a good one, everybody. Spring training is here. Baseball is back. Life is beautiful. As